Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Arlie Ingalls. As you know, I am the author of a new book called Ingalls on the Prairie, the Gina Fern Ingalls story. Today we had some bad news. My mother is one of 11 children. It was broken up in two sections. There was 4 from Grandpa's first marriage and 7 from Grandma's first marriage. But combined, there was 11 of them. And we found out today that Mom's brother, Uncle Giles, passed away. He was the only other surviving member of the 11 of them, so that leaves my mother all on her own. So I want to say, a little something about Uncle Giles to remember him, and to the family how sorry we are that this day has come. Today I have 2 family members with me, my brother Brad, who's joined us in the past, and we have a new member with us, my sister Margo. And I will let them introduce themselves. Margo?
Yep, hello. Again, yep, I'm brother Brad, running right behind brother Lee, third in the lineup. And yep, this is actually my third time to be able to get on and do one of these videos. Super happy to be able to do that, and super happy to be on with my sister Margo this time.
Yep, hi. Good to be on with Lee and Brad. I am Margo. I'm number 5 in the lineup. I think they call that the middle child. But happy to be on and happy to be having some family conversation. So thanks for inviting me.
Of course. One thing I have to say though is, so our family, the 8 of us, we divided ourselves into 4. There was the older 4 and the younger 4. One of the first memories I have of us as kids, Margo always wanted to know, when was she going to be old enough to be one of the older 4? And given enough time, she managed to pass a couple of us up. So now she is.
Yeah, that's what they tell me.
Yeah. So, well, I do want to talk about Uncle Giles a little bit. I wanted to add to the videos that we talk about a family member and what our memories of them were. So, Margo or Brad, I'll let you go first.
All right, I can jump in first. Obviously, the Giles Patnode family was hugely important with me. There was another family that I spent a lot of time with in my youth. I think that, I don't want to say our parents farmed us out to other people, but especially in the summertime, 8 kids was a lot to take care of. And so it was easily done, I think, or for my parents to, maybe send, it seemed like me quite a bit, Lee quite a bit, to other people's houses to spend some time during the summertime to help, whatever it was, help feed the kids or whatever the reason was. But I spent a lot of time with Giles and Marge at their house. So it became very close to, their 4 children, as well as, Giles himself. I've always had a great respect for him. He was an extremely athletic man, never, golfed all his life right up until the very end, to where he was, not able to walk the golf course anymore. Went and worked out twice a day, went for walks, stayed very, very physically active, right into the part where his body just gave out, and he had to be, put in an assisted living place, and which I thought for sure, just like when Mom went into one, was going to end him. But he did find some, way to be okay with it. And so for me, again, as I grow older, he's kind of my hero. He's the person that I'm living up to want to do exactly what he did and be as physically active right up to the point where, they're pushing me off into an assisted living.
Yeah, I agree, brother. My memory foremost with Uncle Giles is that he was such a healthy man. And from year to year, sometimes a year or 2 would pass before I would see him again. And every time I did, I just felt like, man, the clock just never changed for him. He stayed fit, always had a big, beautiful smile. greeted you with a great handshake. He wasn't one of those real hugger type people, but he was always engaging and always made me feel, that he missed me. I also was very close with the 4 kids, primarily Julie. She and I were the same age. Julie is his youngest daughter. But the families were so close. And when I think about just the wheel of generations and the wheel of life, and knowing that, my parents and their siblings are passing, and pretty soon that spoke of the wheel, we brothers end up on top before you know it. So I cherish my aunts and uncles. I cherish Uncle Giles. Happy to be very close to some of his kids yet. Steve, of course, passed. Brian, Julie, Cheryl, they're all still here. We talk at least once a week. Yeah, I will miss him greatly. He was a great role model for health and wellness and living life to the fullest.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that's been said. The physical fitness and the desire to be fit runs in our family. I think it's a inherited trait. Grandpa Patnode certainly had it. He used to walk 5 miles a day up to within 2 years of his death. Uncle Giles certainly had that when he was young. He was very fit. He went into the Marines. He did very well there. His career was mostly in sales. And I can't tell you the number of people that said he was so good at his job, he could sell snowballs to Eskimos. So a very successful life in the sales arena. And then Steve, Brian, and him had a construction business that they did very well at. They managed that very successfully, and it still exists today, and it's being run by the family today. So he has a huge legacy, not only in his kids, but in his business endeavors as well. So yeah, he'll be greatly missed, and I agree, Margo. I mean, it seemed like years would go by, and he just did not change in any little bit. His energy level, the way he looked, his physicality, all that stayed the same for so long. And kind of like Grandpa, it was like in the last 2 years that he seemed to show his age somewhat. So very sad to see him go, and great deal of respect and love for the entire family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very sad day. Yeah.
Rest
So yes, thank you. Okay, so moving on to a lighter note, we're here at the holiday season, which is why I'm sitting in front of a Christmas tree. I usually don't turn the lights on until Thanksgiving Day, but I didn't want to sit in front of a tree with no lights on, so I turned them on for this call. We're going to talk a little bit about our memories of what the holidays were. Thanksgiving at our house was always a big one, coming up next week. The things I remember about it, we were a family of 10, and always Grandma and Grandpa Ingalls were there when they were still with us. And there were other relatives that would be with us as well. If Uncle John was coming in town from the Navy, he would join us. So it was just a really festive atmosphere. Mom liked to do a midday spread of snack foods. And my favorite was the smoked oysters. But we had sliced sausage, cheese, crackers, chips, dips, and that nasty wine.
Yes, I agree. My favorite actually was the bacon wrapped water chestnuts.
Oh, yeah, those are good too.
Yeah.
My favorite is, and I'm not even sure if that was just a party type thing or what, but the French onion chip dip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I still eat that today. It's
Yeah,
still one
yeah.
of my favorites.
We all do. The only thing is Dad could not eat anything with sour in the name. So Mom wasn't able to use sour cream. She had to use Philadelphia cream cheese, which made it so hard it broke the chips every single time.
True.
We didn't just stick the chip in there and pull it back out. We wanted to drag it across and get some dip on that chip.
Yep.
It's the only way.
It was good though. I do remember that as well. Yeah, and then as the years went on, for the time that mom and dad lived on the farm, that was the gathering place for Thanksgiving, and that was the one holiday that we all had to come home for. We all had to be there. So every year we got together at mom and dad's house, which was a farm, until they moved, and then we started having it at your house, Margo. Wasn't it your house first, or was it?
No, it was Sherry in
That's
Appleville.
right.
Yep.
That's right. Sherry and Jim had it for a while, and then it went to your house.
Yes.
And then Brad got it for a couple of times. Candy got it, I think, at least once.
Yeah. Yes.
And then our family got to be so
Got it.
large. What's that?
And then back to Brad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was pretty much the same all the time. In fact, I still have all the recipes for the main dishes that we had at the Thanksgiving dinner, and we'll have them again next week. The only thing is, I don't have to share them with an army of people. It'll just be Brett and I.
Yep, yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was a tradition that was kind of sad to see it come to an end, but the truth of the matter is having it every year at that point in time, you never knew what you were going to get for weather. Travel, especially for anybody coming out of town, was always super expensive because they jacked up flight prices and everything else. Gas prices usually would go up 50, 60 cents a gallon just over that weekend because they knew it was a big travel weekend. And, and that was actually what prompted us to then start having our big family gathering in the summertime.
Yeah, which makes more sense. It's a much easier time to travel. Everybody's out of school. So yeah, it makes it more sense to do that. But you're right, I do miss it too. But there were times that it was very, very dicey. I remember once going up to Candy's. We flew into town, rented a car, started driving up there, and then they got that icy, wet, snow, rainy stuff. And so we were kind of sliding around on the roads a little bit on the way up there. There's no fun.
Well, what I recall, yes, I recall blizzards. I recall freezing rain. I'll be honest though, people drove through everything to get there, and they were there. There were times at my house that I recall counting up to 54, 55 people, and they just went through it all to be there with family. Sometimes that was the only holiday where every single one of us did get together, and people were determined and were there.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But the family gathering during the summer is fun as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we're certainly able to do a lot more, especially outside, since like Sister Margo just said, a lot of times there was 50 people there. To get 50 people in somebody's house got to be quite challenging at times.
Yeah. True. So Margo, what's your first Christmas you remember?
My first Christmas that I recall was on Sheridan. And it really wasn't so much the Christmas, although I do recall that. I don't know how mom and dad did it with 8 kids, and we were so close, 8 kids in 10-year span. I mean, that we always had wonderful gifts and thoughtful gifts, and they were, well, my recollection, gifts that I wanted, things that I wanted. Well, before I realized there wasn't a Santa Claus, I just didn't know how this all happened. We didn't have a chimney. I mean, it was all just such a mystery. Well, one day I was super duper Snoopy, I guess. I call it investigative, but I guess I was Snoopy. And I went into mom and dad's bedroom when they weren't there. And this is on Sheridan. And in the closet, and I think Sherry and Monty were with me, but in the closet were bags and bags of gifts. And Kurt was with too. And so on there, it was like two Margo from Santa, 2 Kurt from Santa. And we're looking at each other like, what? There's no Santa? I just that is what I remember. Probably the biggest shocker for me was that, oh my gosh, our mom and dad were doing this the whole time. They were doing this the whole time, and they were good to us at Christmas. I just remember always feeling like that tree was just overflowing, and they always allowed us to get them up and drag them out of bed, and they act like that they didn't know a thing, that Santa had come, that we had been good kids apparently. And so that was my first, I guess, recollection of Christmas, and realizing that it was my mom and dad and not Santa. But no, they never, mother, she loved to decorate. She had every inch on every window hanging with an ornament hanging, and their good friends, Joe and Dorothy, who made ornaments by hand, some of them glass and crystal, very intricate, very beautiful. She had all of it displayed. There was nothing that didn't come out of the box. So definitely, Lee, you got that from mom, and thank goodness. I mean, that was, the house just was festive and warm, and it was great. That's what I remember about Christmas.
Good, good. And Brad, well, we talked about what your first Christmas you remember, but when did you first realize there was no Santa, that it was mom and dad?
I think I realized it. I think I wanted to believe, so I probably had heard many different times, well, it's not really a Santa, and I just chose not to believe it. But we were also living on Sheridan Avenue, and mom and dad always ate dinner out on a TV tray, and it was just a few weeks before Christmas, and I was bringing their food out to them and out to dad. And so I said to dad, I said, getting older now, he goes, I don't really believe there is a Santa Claus. And he looked at me, he goes, well, keep that to yourself, because you've got younger siblings that do believe. And then that kind of gave me my confirmation that there really was no Santa Claus. It was my mom and dad. So I think we all have that. But, I kind of still do believe in the spirit of Christmas. And irregardless, it's a time of giving. And so is it, irregardless of who the gifts are coming from, is it still not Santa? I mean, it kind of still is. Just not one single person that makes it around to every single house. And yeah, like Mark says, we didn't have a chimney in half the houses where he lived in. So how in the hell was he getting in our house?
Exactly.
So I still believe in the spirit of it all, even if, the myth of a single person doesn't exist. The spirit of Christmas does.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, there certainly was a different sense and feeling around the house and during the holiday season. So I absolutely agree. I think I actually knew when we lived in Anoka. I think that's when my little buddies that I was hanging around with kind of spilled the beans and said there isn't one. But from that point until mom and dad were willing to say it to me, I just kept it to myself. I thought, well, there's no reason to burden them, just in case it might impact the gifts I'm getting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You've always got your priorities straight, brother.
Of course. Hey, they didn't raise no dummy. Yeah, so the holidays are always been good, and still are.
Yep, I agree. Yep, Christmas is still one of my favorite holidays. I right after Thanksgiving, just like most people, I start playing Christmas music whenever I can, and obviously with the music stuff that we do, I always look forward to that, because that's the one time a year you can break out your own song, some little Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and stuff like that, to sing and do at your different performances. So it's always still a very, very special time for me.
Yeah, I listen to Christmas music all year long. There's a couple songs that are on my gym playlist, so when I'm doing cardio, they'll play every time I go.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Blake and Ryan had started a tradition maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where they started to go to, they started taking me and some of the others to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is just so beautiful. And I agree, Lee, I listen to certain Christmas songs throughout the year. I mean, they just bring a lot of warmth to me inside, and
Joy and happiness and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So how are you going to do the holidays this year with the COVID thing going on?
Well, as you know, I live with Ross and Jamie primarily, and their family, and we have right now a full household. I would say over half of my family is under one household. So we're going to carry on. We're carrying on. Alan and Brittany, with their new baby, have decided to stay put, especially over Thanksgiving. They will not travel. They will stay put. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's a little bit different all the way around, just because a lot of my family, we're all under the same household. So.
Yeah, we're struggling with it a little bit as well. I mean, originally the plans were to have like a lunch event with his mother, and then go see his father and stepmother later in the day. But we're not going to see his father and stepmother at all, because his father's in a little bit of difficult health. He had cancer not too long ago, and we just don't want to put him in a difficult position. His mother still wants to get together, so I told him we're not traveling. We're going to stay here. We're going to cook here. It's your family. I don't want to tell you what to do, but this year I think the best thing that we can do for Thanksgiving, anyways, is plan the get together for next year.
Yeah, we're kind of in the same boat. We're literally not going to do anything. Everybody's kind of going to stay in place, make some phone calls. I know that Sister Candy is struggling a little bit with it, because she's got, great big house she bought, assuming people would come for holidays and stuff there. Now with this whole COVID thing, she'll probably end up spending the whole thing alone as well. So I think, but you just gotta stay home, stay in place, stay safe, and use telephone, conversations like these, and just get together that way and share your time that way, because it certainly is not worth venturing out and getting sick or getting somebody else sick.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And then Christmas is kind of up in the air. We still don't know about that. If the numbers come down, I'd be a little bit more okay with seeing people at least somewhat. But yeah, it's sad. It's sad we are where we are. But hopefully with the vaccinations that are being introduced, that we can get past this, and next year will be more normal looking.
Yep.
Yeah.
However, I do have a really nice collection of masks for a variety of different outfits. So, I mean, that would be a shame to waste those.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Refuse. This is my mask right here. That's it. But yep, no,
Well,
gotta do.
anything else that you want to talk about, or?
Well, I think that in the past ones, I would like to hear what Margo's thoughts are. When we moved again from North Minneapolis, Sheridan House, to Waconia, especially for some of us older ones, it was a pretty, life-changing event, where when we spoke to Sherry and Candy, those two both assimilated. They were so young that they simulated right off the bat. And so with Margo being the oldest of the youngest four, we should probably see what her thoughts were.
Yeah,
Flash of lightning there or what?
Yeah, sorry. I actually did at some point wanted to talk about that, because I was I don't know, I was in 5th grade going into 6th grade. But we may not have time for that, but I do want to talk about that at some point because I still remember some things today like they were yesterday. And as much as I was so happy, I thought we were leaving and moving from an area that I didn't feel overly safe in. And, I got out there and within a week, I'm like, oh my gosh, please take me back. So yeah, at some point it would be interesting to talk about that because it's interesting how each of us were impacted differently.
Yeah, well, you can talk about it now, Margo. We don't have any time constraints on these.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know, how old was I, you guys? I don't know. I was out of 5th grade going into 6th grade. And so what I recall are riots. I remember riots, and I remember mother picking us up from school early at times in North Minneapolis because of the riots. And so that was scary. And I do recall visiting Waconia and the farm and meeting the Meithels, which were living on the farm at the time, and their family. And it was all just kind of seemed like, yay, we're going to get out of this situation and we're going to go and live in the country. But unfortunately for me, me and brother Kurt, who are two of the darker skinned people in the family, we were not, or I was not accepted really well. And I was called a lot of things I had never been exposed to, called myself. So those things were really, really, really hard for me. And I couldn't figure out, I hadn't done anything wrong. They didn't even know me. And these are kids, of course, these are kids, but it was tough. It was really, really tough. And I more than once went to mom and dad and said, can we please go back? I don't want to be here. So thank goodness there were a couple of the kids in school, popular kids in school, Jeff Wittenhoff and Sue Erickson and Heidi Swan, all of those that kind of took me under their wing a little bit and got me through some very, what I recall, difficult times. So I love Waconia. I ended up loving Waconia, but it was a tough move for me at that age.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of perspective for those people that don't know Waconia from those days, and it's far different now than it was then. I was shocked the first time that I went back after so many years. But the Waconia was a very tight community. They were mostly Germans of German descent. So, and they were, like I said, they were very close and a very closed community. They were not interested at that time in expanding or growing or bringing people in. And you're right. I mean, we have a French Native American background, so our skin, we tan like really quickly. 5 minutes out in the sun, and it's like most people spend the day out there. So we did get teased for being so dark, especially after the summer. So yeah, no, it was, I hear you, I hear what you're saying, and I had some of the same experiences myself.
Yeah.
Yep, I kind of agree. And same thing with the, on several different levels. And I think that Lee and I had talked about that in an earlier conversation. We went out there just living our North Minneapolis style. Superfly had just come out. We were wearing our elephant bell-bottom pants and leopard skin shirts and belts and platform shoes to a country that had just came out of 1961, and wearing their jean jackets and jean pants and their penny loafers. And so, and it was a very tight town. The town elders at that time, if that's what you want to call them, they did everything in their power, the Yetzers and some of the other people that had some power in town, to keep from expanding or having Minneapolis expand into Waconia. They wouldn't allow a phone line to come in. They wanted to make sure it was always long distance to call anywhere outside of Waconia and surrounding area. They did their best to really isolate and try to keep Waconia small town as long as they could. Unfortunately, once they got older and new blood replaced them, the younger, newer city planners couldn't wait to expand. And now Waconia is practically a suburb of the cities. I mean, it's like Lee said, it's, you just are shocked when you go out there now and see the expansion and how the town has changed.
Yeah.
And so
they kept part of it. The main street that goes through there pretty much looks the same. Those buildings have all stayed the same, and they look the same, but the outskirts are just no longer recognizable.
yeah. Well, truthfully, the city limits and the housing developments is just about out to where we grew up. And that was all farm country back in the day. And now literally the housing projects are within a mile of our own farm place.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the last time, have you all been out to the old farm recently?
Yeah, I go almost every day. I go by on 284. And you'll know that, but on 284, after you go over the big hill where seagulls lived on the right-hand side there, and down and dip in. Well, just this past couple of weeks, on the left-hand side, they are building a big development in those woods. They used to be the Meifel, were kind of connected to where the Meifels woods were.
Yep.
Putting on a development there. So honestly, the have darn near reached where we grew up.
Yeah, I go by there fairly often too, because I go those back roads through Cologne in that back way to get into Waconia or anything. I'm that way, and so yeah, it's very sad for me if you take the Laumann's farm and all these little 200-acre farms that were just the bread and butter of America at the time we were growing up. And they're gone. Every single one of them is gone. The house and land maybe has been sold off in a 5-acre parcel, and somebody else owns the the rights for the farming, or the farming bought the land. But yeah, you take the Hosseys, the Getz, I mean, just the Meifels place, all those farms are now gone. It's kind of, so it's kind of sad, but that's what progress is, I guess.
Yep. Time moves on.
Yep. So then, how long did it take you, Margo, to feel like, because I think Lee and I had talked about it before, and it probably took me close to 2 years to say that I'm from Waconia versus I'm from Minneapolis. I think it was about 2 years down the road before I would finally say, yeah, Waconia is my home.
Well, I don't really recall Minneapolis all that much. I would never say that Minneapolis was like my home or my roots were, because I don't remember. I remember significant details like riots and mom picking us up from school, or I had a really good friend named Milton who, I mean, they're really random things like, or Steve and Aaron Bolduc and the doers. I mean, those things I remember, but not. So I would say I never felt like a city kid, and I definitely wasn't. But Waconia probably within, I would say, 2 years that I would say that I kind of made a group of friends that really accepted me, and kind of, I think they accepted us, because it wasn't just me. It was also, Kurt, Brad, you, thank goodness, you and Lee and Barbara, people liked you guys. Well, number one, you had sandy blonde hair, and you looked a little bit different, but thank goodness that people started accepting you, because I think that then, the only thing I would say is do you remember Mr. Elias? I think he was a chemistry teacher or history or something. And every time I'd go into class after, and he'd say, "Oh my God, another Ingalls. How many are you? And how many more do I have to, And so I think probably 2 years, and it was only because of the help of my older siblings then who kind of trailblazed and made some positive impacts and along the way.
Well, we wore them out is what we did.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true. And we really did. I remember the one math teacher was Mr. Trinka, I think it was his name.
Yeah.
He kicked me out of his class one day.
well, I got Larry.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember Mrs. Larricky, but she was a home ec teacher.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She was not a big fan of mine. We got into it a few times. Mrs. Kolb was Mary Kolb. She was my favorite teacher of all. And we are now friends on Facebook. And so we talk a little bit about, and she lives in Waconia too, and has grandkids that go to Waconia school. So we stay in contact and talk, Waconia stuff every once in a while on Facebook. So
That's nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I think after a year or two, because even I developed, or had a small circle of friends that were pretty close friends. In fact, Dave, today we're still friends on Facebook and chat back and forth there every once in a while. And our neighbor Pam, remember Pam and Debbie?
Yeah.
She reached out on Facebook and not too long ago. So it's very interesting to kind of reconnect with some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, even though I never felt like I belonged on a farm or that far outside of Minneapolis, we lived there so long, and growing up, that's where we lived the longest. We usually moved every year or two prior to that. So it eventually felt like that was our home place. And Mom and Dad lived there for decades after I left.
Yeah.
It was always where we went together and was home.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree. I had teachers. I mean, Al Blanchard and I got along great, especially when I first got out of the service. I ran into him several different times. Used to bounce at a bar restaurant place over in Mounds View or somewhere over there, anyways. But I ran into them in the beach a couple times, and Mr. Johnson I got a pilot's license when I was in the service, and he was a flight instructor. So when I first got out, I also did some flight training with him. And so, yeah, there was, quite a few people. And again, yeah, when you have 8 children coming up and you go from, the teacher seeing the next one and the next one and the next one as you go through, you do get a little bit of that of, oh my gosh, how many are there? How can I have one new one every single year?
Yeah.
So, yep. And then I know Mr. Winters, I know that Dad was at odds with him a few different times, but Mr. Winters and I always got along very well. I ran that Waconia Triathlon a couple of different times, and he was always one of the support people on the side of the road. And I bet you I seen him somewhere on that running or biking all the years that I did that event. So that was kind of fun.
Cool.
Cool. Well, good. Good discussion. Thank you. Anything else we want to talk about?
No, I appreciate that because I did want to talk about that. So thank you for letting me have that opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Brad, what about you? Anything more?
Yep, nope. It just, I'll give you my standard disclaimer that if anybody from Waconia listens to this whole thing and something I said might have 2 meanings and one of them hurt your feelings, I meant the other one. Sometimes when you discuss things, it seems like sometimes somebody takes offense to some things you're saying. And, these are only, thoughts and ideas and whatever of my own personal perspective. And I still think Waconia is one of the greatest towns out there. Couldn't have been happier to have grown up there for those formidable years, and always look forward to going back. So
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Yep, I agree. It's a great place. And I have family here still. And so I agree. It's a really great place.
Yep, it's a nice town. It's, like I said, surprising the amount of change that it's gone through over the last few decades.
Yep, yep.
Well, I think then we will adjourn for tonight.
Yes.
Thank you,
Well,
Yep.
Margo. Thank you, Brad, for joining me.
Yeah, well, thank you for hosting this whole thing. It's always super fun to, once you've said everything, then to see the end result of that, and you think, and I probably could have worded that a little bit better, but it's always fun to watch them, I totally enjoyed the one that Barbara and Sherry did last time. That was very fun. So I'll be looking forward to seeing the final results on this one.
yeah,
Well, I'll try to get it up tomorrow.
I can't figure out how to bring those up. I'm only able to see, I think, the first one and the fourth one, and that's it. I can't find any of the other ones. So I'll have to figure that out.
Are you looking under Lee Ingalls?
No, I'm looking under our Lee
No,
Ingalls.
search YouTube under Lee Ingalls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of Lee Ingalls stuff out there, so you have to scroll a little bit, but you will find them all. I found them all the other day. I jumped on, I obviously have a little time to kill right now, and I was able to find all of them, but I did have to scroll through a couple different pages of stuff. They're not all right in a row.
Oh,
Yeah, if you
okay.
open one of them, it'll say right below it on the left-hand side, I think, is my name. If you click on that, it takes you to my page, and all of them will be there.
Oh,
No,
all right.
okay.
I was looking in the wrong place. So yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, good, good. So look for the number of views to go up then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Well, thanks again for joining me, and you too have a good night.
Yep, thanks, you too, brother. Take care.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Love you. Talk to you
Love
soon.
you, love you
Cheers to
too.
you both.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Okay. Bye.
Night.
All right, good night.